You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Welcome in, everyone. You know who it is. You know what it is. It's The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio, Iron Skillet Television. We are the hottest talk in the 219. We are the talk of the 219. And Jay, I've got an important question for you.
Uh-oh.
One of the most important questions of the year.
Uh-oh. I'm scared of it.
Can the Bears replace Akiem Hicks?
No.
Or is it time to replace Akiem Hicks?
Yes.
Oh, bad man daddy. Bad man daddy.
Yes. Yes, it is time. Because the Bears are in cap hell right now. And they can't hold on to their players. They made that huge push in 2018 when they brought in Khalil Mack. When they developed Fuller, when you had the big hitters out in the secondary, when that defense had Aaron Rodgers on its heel on the first game of the year, and we said, "Oh man, super duper Super Bowl, here we come!" And all of a sudden, Matt Nagy couldn't figure out how to tell Mitchell Trubisky to throw the ball to one side of the field, and the great guru himself made a mess, a chef mockery of that offense, and they spoiled a great defense. Now, you see a defense with blemishes on it. You see a defense that started to dry up like a bad bowl of fruit. And now you have Akiem Hicks, the last of the bananas on there who hasn't turned brown yet. And if you don't get him off the vine, he's going to go bad too. I'd rather see Akiem Hicks with his $10.5 to $12 million salary. I know that's a hard cap for the Bears, but maybe possibly he'll get a chance to go somewhere and actually play for a championship, because when he was with the Patriots, he would have had a chance, but the Patriots were bad then, and now the Bears are worse. He's got to go.
Well, I'm looking at it. You know, we love Akiem, and I have always said to you that he was the central piece of that defense. But now with a defense that is, as you said, has blemishes all over the place.
Yeah.
I think your rebuild now has been Eddie Jackson, Roquan Smith, and still trying to hold on to old man Mack. And I believe the only reason why Khalil Mack is still here is because financially you can't get rid of him.
Can't move him. The contract's to you.
So you're stuck with him.
You're stuck with him.
Yeah. So, to me, that's mismanagement, Jay. Now, I don't know how others will see it, but when you're a capologist or whoever is helping you to assist you in putting these numbers together, when they can't see down the road, like, look, man, here's what's going to happen. If you sign two quarterbacks and you allocate $30 million to them, and then you got a corner, a D tackle, and some more people who are going to make, maybe 10, 15 million, your cap is going to be right at and nobody expected the pandemic, but you would think in a year when you thought maybe this cap's going to come down, maybe then you would have started trying to make some moves. We saw they tried to make some moves. They tried to ship Akiem Hicks out. They tried to ship Fuller out and couldn't get a deal.
Couldn't move that $12 million salary. They couldn't move him.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted him because we got a dinged up Akiem Hicks now. Right. we had the elbow, and then we had the leg before. When Akiem Hicks is in there, he's a great ball player. But what you have with the Bears right now, you ever seen somebody who paid a really lot of money? I don't know if that's exactly English, but
it's American standard.
It's close enough. Who paid? I don't know if you've done. I've done it. You paid a good amount of money for a shirt or a suit jacket.
Yeah,
and
you went out and got you that Gordon Gartrell.
You went out and got you one. But now the years have passed.
Oh, have they? Sir?
And the years have passed on that garment, and now it's got a little wrinkle here, a little hitchy hitch here, a little unravel there. But you can't force yourself to part with it because of what you paid for it. But when you look at the garment, if you really look at it, it's not worth anywhere near what you paid for it right now. And this is what you're looking at with Akiem Hicks. You're still great. You still look good, but we can't afford you here because now you don't fit anymore here. And that's the situation. Akiem Hicks for $12 million on that defensive line, they're going right to the draft, and they're going to take somebody out of college if the kid from Alabama is there, Barrymore, if there's a few other people available, they're going to get that kid and they're going to bring them in and they're going to pay them rookie salary and they're going to eject Akiem Hicks out of here. He won't even get back to Hallis Hall this year.
Wow, you don't think he'll make it back to Hollis Hall?
Not with that $12 million salary. Look, if the Bears are in such a bad cap position right now that if they sign all of their draft picks this year, which is going to cost somewhere around $8 million, they don't have enough to do it. They literally have to eject some players out of here. So now you're going to see a Jimmy Graham gone. You're going to see a Akiem Hicks gone because you got to pay these young rookies because you got $30 million tied up into backup quarterbacks. This is ridiculous right here. The Mitchell Trubisky moving up from 3 to 2 experiment. As I said it before, this sets teams back years. And now because they did not move Mitchell Trubisky early on, Mitchell should have been gone after the 2018-2019 season. Mitchell Trubisky should have been gone. They should have found a home for him, ate some salary, did what they needed to do, start figuring some things out, and get a quarterback in here. You still have a Bears team who has not had a premier quarterback on his roster, and I'm including SKILLET beginning that.
You know what? Let me ask you this question. I've heard this debate bandied about, is Mac Jones the new wave? Is he the 2021 version of Mitchell Trubisky?
Well, here's the issue, but we don't know how any of these guys are. We don't know. Trevor Lawrence is the heir apparent. They're saying he's the next best thing, not since sliced bread, but since bread. You know what I'm saying? Before there was no bread, and now there's Trevor Lawrence. Right. So
before rolls.
Before all of it. It was also then bread showed up, and he's a Hawaiian loaf. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be that guy. We don't know until they get out here and play in the NFL. We have seen the NFL come in here and chew up these high recruits when they come in, these high picks. Mm-hmm. We've seen the NFL chew them up. Guess what the NFL is doing right now? You have guys who have a full-time job, and all they're looking about, if Trevor Lawrence comes into my division, how are we going to defend him? They're looking right now talking about who can we get to cover. This is where he's good at. This is where he's weak at. We're going to find somebody we're going to put press coverage on his right side because he doesn't read that real well, and we're going to play off coverage on his backside because he likes to come back and look over there. And so we're going to figure out where he's good. We're going to take that away from him. We're going to make him have to go to that second or third read, and if he gets to that third read, we expect to get home to him and hit the young quarterback and knock him around. Why are they going to be able to get home to Trevor Lawrence? Because he's going to a bad football team. Just like Sam Darnold, just like every other great quarterback who's come down the pike. This is the reason why Tom Brady, that pick at 199, if he got picked higher than that, had he got picked in the 20s or 30s, there would not be a Tom Brady. I just want to say that right now. He went to the best situation that you could go to, a team that was ready to win. He went there and backed up Bledsoe, and Bledsoe went down, and Tom Brady stepped in because he was mentally prepared. He had a great offensive line in front of him, and he led them to a championship. Had not that happened to Tom Brady, we would not see Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay 20-plus years later, and everybody trying to fly down there and come play with him. He wouldn't have existed. You have to go to a good, almost great football team as a rookie. If you can, you're going to shine. If you don't, you're going to be Sam Darnold until he matriculates himself down to a decent football team, and all of a sudden we're going to see the talent actually come out.
Right now you're looking at Michigan has a guy, and Penn State has a couple of guys. You're looking at edge rushers, but you're not really looking at a stalwart in the middle. And I think the only stalwart right now we see a lot of edge rushers coming out, but we don't see a lot of stout defensive linemen in this draft, at the top of this draft. I think the kid from Alabama might be your best. And I don't even know if he's your best. I just know he had a moment where he shined the brightest on the stage and he looked good. I don't know if that was because he was that good or the line across from him was that bad. It could be either or. So if you're talking about replacing an Akiem Hicks at this point, with your first round pick, do you go offensive line or defensive line with the thought that you have to replace Akiem Hicks?
I'm not thinking about replacing Akiem Hicks, to tell you the honest truth. He's going to get replaced. I'm going offensive line. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure. I have the most glaring problem out there. I don't care how pretty your Lamborghini is. If it's sitting up on cinder blocks, it looks good, but it ain't going nowhere. You know, I'll take a pace bus. That's a bus out here in Illinois, in Indiana. I'll jump on a pace bus with a transfer, and I'll beat that Lamborghini all around the city because it's on cinder blocks. You gotta put some tires on this car. You gotta get this thing ready to move, ready to go around, and you gotta build an offensive line. I don't care who they play at defensive line. I could care less right now. The only thing I care about with the Chicago Bears is the offensive line, because if you get the offensive line shored up, now I don't care what quarterback you put there back there, at least you're going to be better than serviceable. But the issue is with the Bears, you saw a certain offensive lineman who played for the Bears for 8 or 9 years, got healthy, and went elsewhere. He didn't even come back to the beloved. That tells you how screwed up this whole situation is with the Bears. When you saw, what was this, about 4 or 5 months ago? We saw about that, Greg, about 3 months ago.
Yeah,
when we
about
saw
3 months ago.
When we saw all of the Bears assistant coaches start to flee,
just leave. It was like a house fire that someone had just yelled out from upstairs. The house is on fire, and everybody ran out there.
Yeah, it was Red Rover. Y'all come over. Y'all don't want to be over there with the Bears. And that's basically, and you saw these assistants leave. So what does that tell you? That there's instability in the Bears ranks from the top level on down. Right now, we look at the situation right now. Do the McCaskies even believe that Pace can go out here and pick the next quarterback, because he screwed up the first pick? His first pick, he screwed up so bad with Mitchell Trubisky because he gave up draft capital by moving up to get him. Now, right. And you pass by, we're not even talking about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has other issues going right now. I'm talking about the football player Deshaun Watson. They passed on Deshaun Watson because of the knee situation or whatever. It's not understandable, but I would understand. But then I go back, and maybe there was some inside football here that we don't know. Maybe they did know something was going on. Maybe rumor has it. I don't know. You have a lot of pundits out here right now that says, he was, a pinnacle man of the hour. That type of guy. Deshaun Watson was never a problem. So you got to ask the question. I'm just going to stay on this track for about 30 seconds, Craig. Let me stay over here. If Deshaun Watson was the absolute great guy that everybody says he was, and we know he's been hit and knocked around a tremendous amount playing behind that bad Texas offensive line, are we looking at a situation that a certain tight end had in coming out of the Patriots? Are we looking at a situation of a guy who may be concussed, who may have CTE symptoms coming out now, that he's acting out in these ways? Because everybody's saying before, this guy's never even had a hint of anything like this. So we're wondering now, when you see things change like this, is this a situation going on? But going back to the original point, you have to look at it and see, can the Bears brain trust Pace to make the right decision? And I'm going to say, no, they can't. So the issue is right now, they're not going to move. I don't think they're going to move up to get a quarterback, to tell you the honest truth. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to ride this bringing in the person that they brought in. I can't even think. I don't even want to say his name right now.
The ginger-haired genius doesn't have a name.
They're going to bring him in, and he's going to start. You know why he's going to start? Because they told him so. And they're going to build this team around him, and you're going to look up, you're going to see other players that are going to be exited out of here. And the Bears are going to be a team. You're going to look at these guys and go, who's playing for the Bears now?
Let me walk down the street, since you just pulled us up to it, and I just got out the car. Let's walk down the street for a minute. I thought originally when it came to Deshaun Watson, it was more like a Brandon Roy situation with the Trailblazers. You knew there was possible injury, and you knew it could be affecting him later down the line. And I think with Brandon Roy, the fear came true that great player or good player, I won't say great yet, he was a good player, but physically was unable to do it. The same thing with Greg Odom. In fact, Portland had a run of getting injured players that just continued to stay injured. But we talked about it in our last segment when we talked about mental health. And the one person we neglected to talk about to any extent was a particular Patriots tight end.
Right.
That there were issues, and then some things got covered up, and it was a lot we didn't know about him going into this. But when it came to Hernandez and some of the things that happened, especially later, and you think about players like Marvin Jones and some other guys where you're like, no, they're nice, decent, wholesome people, until you're like, oh, he was doing what?
Right.
He shot at who?
Absolutely right.
He tried to kill who?
Absolutely right.
And you're wondering now, hits and these things that are happening. Now, I'm not going to say that the ginger hair genius or Rex Grossman or any other Bears quarterback at this point, future, present, like Mitchell Trubisky, is going to go out and start shooting at people. But with that kind of line that they're providing, and without the resources that they're giving, I think it's going to be hard. And I'm with you, Jay. I don't see the Bears saying, you know what, let's go out and make some definitive moves to make this team better. I'm stuck in this weird position where I'm thinking the Bears say they care, but they don't show me that they care. They act like they care, but nothing they've done in the past 4 years has told me you really care. Like you really. Even the thing with Khalil Mack. Okay, so you get Khalil Mack, great player, once in a lifetime ability to get him. But then you double down on silliness. Like you signed him to this ridiculously exorbitant contract that you knew you could never get out of. So Khalil Mack's going to be a Chicago Bear until he dies or until the Bears die. It's one of the two. He can't get out of that contract. They can't get rid of him. But you sacrificed everything you need in this league. I love defenders. Everybody knows I love defense. But the only way you're going to win in the NFL, NCAA, high school, is you got to have a great offense to make it work, to make it keep flowing. And you can't just have one good running back. We talked about that before with the Bears' greatest running backs. Every one of the Bears' greatest running backs really almost got killed on the field fooling with the Bears.
Yeah,
Walter Payton almost got killed on the field fooling with the Bears.
You know, the issue is that I'm gonna beg to differ just a little bit on this one point with you.
What's that?
I think the Bears are trying to do it. I think they are absolutely trying. I think they're giving their best effort. But you know what they remind me of? I don't know, in your previous dating life, I know this happened to me, that you had somebody say they're going to make you a meal, right? You're going to come by, hey, I'm going to make dinner for you.
Right.
But they don't cook. You know what I'm saying? Now, their heart might be in it, but what translates out on the plate is two different things. If you're going to make dinner for somebody, right, then you should have been making dinner all the times before. All the time before you even met the person. Your family come over to your house because you're the one to cook. You're the one that helps out at grandmama's house. And I'm talking about boys and men. I watch my mom cook. That's how I learned to cook, the few things that I can cook. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to invite somebody over for dinner, that means this should not be the second or third time you actually cook for somebody. This should be many times. I think for the Bears, I think they believe they can cook, but they just broke out the cookbook and they're not sure what to do. And they've been ordering from Grubhub the whole entire time, and now they got to make Thanksgiving dinner. You know?
Well, here's the problem, Jay. They have had generations to do the cooking. They are one of the foundational teams of this thing called the NFL. If you don't know how to cook by now, you will never, ever learn how to cook ever again. It is at that point now. You can't even give me. This is worse than going to a buffet and not getting what you want.
But this line of Bears it's not coming down directly from George Halas. You know what I'm saying?
Who is it coming down from?
Remember, his daughters got married and it kept going and it kept going. So now you have people who are not born into football. They married into football.
Okay.
And it became the business. And what they did not do was bring people in who were football business. The greatest group of coaches I think we've ever had was when you had Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan on the sidelines. And Buddy Ryan was a better coach. There was no doubt about that. Buddy Ryan was the better coach. And you had that locker room split in half. You had the Bears defense and the Bears offense, and the twain did not meet. There were times I heard that even Mike Ditka would even go into the defensive rooms over there because he wasn't really invited to be in there. So
he was told not to come over.
Right. So the thing about it is that you got to have people who live and breathe, and this is all they do is football. This is their entire life. You saw Rex Ryan and the Ryan brothers are still out here. The sons of Buddy Ryan still out here making impact into the NFL. You have to have that lineage coming down. Now,
wouldn't that be cool if the Ryan brothers were here?
It should be the Ryan. I said it before that they should start bringing the Ryan, because then you're going to bring that attitude here. Mm-hmm. You're going to bring what the Bears lack now, and that all comes from Mark Trestman. When they brought Mark Trestman in here, he was a great mind, but he wasn't a killer. And that Bears team from that point on has been trying to find its identity. Did it find its identity in 2018 with that defense? Yes, it did, but it didn't get any help from the offense. And so we see how balance makes a tremendous difference in the NFL. But you got to have guys in here who know football. Look, there are certain guys out here who could look at all the intangibles. He's 6'5", he's 260, he runs a 4.7 40. He could do all the things like that. But there's some people who could watch tape and look at that guy. That guy's not going to make it in the league. They can see off the first 3 steps he's not going to make it in the league. They can tell. You need those gurus, and the teams who have been great all the time. You're talking about your Green Bays as of recently. You're even talking about, now here's the weird part about this now. Just a little side note. Will the Patriots make a resurgence now under Bill Belichick? Can he bring this team back, or was it not the Patriot way, but was it the Brady way? You know what I'm saying? So you're going to wonder now. And so the Bears have to find out there are no more monsters of the Midway. Who fears the Bears? What team fears the Bears right now? You know?
That's terrible.
You know, Jay, I'm not even going to ask the question. I should.
No. You don't want me to go much further.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. You know, the crash spaceship on the lake out there, Soldiers Field. It's going to be a place. I wonder if we're going to have, bags on our heads like the Saints did way back in the day.
All right, that's it. You know who it is. You know what it is. This is the Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television. We are the talk of the 219. We're the hottest talk in the 219. And listen, if you have not liked, subscribed, and shared to the Sizzle, you have the opportunity to, just by pushing the button, liking the button, subscribing to the button. Just do it to the button. Do it to the button. Yes, that's what you got to do. You got to do it. Do it to you. You know what? Once you do it, you know what'll happen?
You like that? You like that?
You will find out that you like what you've done with the button, and you have liked, subscribed, and shared. So, hey, he's Jay Sizzle. I'm G Sizzle, and we will see you on the other side.